The Adventurer's Log 1.1203.20. Hi, I'm Bobby. I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery. 2 episodes. But before we get to that, let's get into this day in tech history. On December 3rd, 2001, inventor Dean Kamen unveils the Segway self-balancing, battery-powered vehicle on the TV show Good Morning America. The Segway uses computers and motors in its base to keep itself upright while the user is riding it. Users shift their weight to control the Segway. While not considered a commercial success, the Segway has definitely become a familiar icon of personal transportation. So that is today's tech history. Let's get into Star Trek Discovery. Spoilers are ahead because I'm going to be talking about Season 3, Episode 7 of Discovery, Unification 3, and Episode 8, The Sanctuary. So, Episode 7 is called Unification 3. That is a reference to the Next Generation TV series, episodes Unification 1 and Unification 2. In that, we have Spock, Admiral Spock, and Captain Picard in disguise on Romulus, trying to bring the Romulans and the Vulcans back into the fold to work together because they have common ancestry. This touches on that. Excuse me. So, this one's a little hard for me. So this one, it opens with Tilly and Michael talking about the black boxes and figuring out where the burn started, and they have all the info from the black boxes, but there's not enough info on that alone, but to help them solve the burn. It does talk about how there's another secret project or whatever that was called SB-19, but they never reported their findings. And so Michael and Saru go talk to Vance, the admiral of the Federation, and Vance basically says, well, we're not going to get any information about SB-19 because they feel that they caused the burn. They feel that the Federation forced them to cause the burn. So that, along with other issues that we've not heard about yet, which probably is going to be touched on in Picard series, and probably the animated Lower Decks at some point, as to why the Vulcans and the Romulans left the Federation. To our crew, they didn't know that the Romulans were part of the Federation. That happened while they were in transit from the past to their present. So yeah. Spock is mentioned numerous times and how he called Michael on numerous issues and how now she takes responsibility for everything. We see archival footage of Leonard Nimoy as Spock talking about the unification. That is straight from I believe it's actually Unification 1. Maybe it's Unification 2 of Next Generation series with Jean-Luc Picard. And then there's also another connection to the Picard TV series, as in Star Trek Picard. There is a person who comes into the fold that is there to speak for Michael, because when they get to Navarre, which was the Vulcan homeworld, they changed their name after the Romulans moved there. The Romulans and Vulcans, mixed their histories and mixed their rites and rituals and all of that. And so Burnham, talking with the president of Navarre, a Vulcan, says, I claim this right to dispute what I know and to get the information I need. And so with that, one of the characters that shows up, there's a Vulcan. It's either one Vulcan and two Romulans, or it's two Vulcans, one Romulan, to dispute what information Michael has in trying to get the information about the burn, or about SB-19. One of the characters that shows up is actually Michael's mom. She is part of a sect called the Sisters. They deal with lost causes. Well, in Star Trek Picard, one of the Romulans that runs around with Picard is of that sect. So, another throwback to another. Yeah. So, Navarre definitely felt like the Federation forced them to cause the burn. They were trying to come up with new tech because not only was Navarre running out of dilithium, but the rest of the universe is running out of dilithium, and they decided to come up with some tech to possibly not use dilithium. And people of Navarre said it's too dangerous, we cannot use it, we don't know the repercussions of it, and it seems like the Federation forced them to continue with their experiments, and they feel that they caused the burn because the Federation's pushing. There's a point where Michael is looking at the archival footage of Admiral Spock talking to Picard or someone else, but I think it's Picard. And Burnham and Booker are there, and Booker looks at her and says, "Man, you guys are constant overachievers," which is true. They both are overachievers of those characters. Because Michael was reprimanded for the episode before this, running rogue and getting Booker and all of that. She got reprimanded, and she's no longer the first officer. Well, Saru goes to Tilly and offers her the position of acting first officer. At the very end of the episode, there's a very emotional exchange, conversation with the bridge crew, and how they convinced her to take the position. And before that, when she was talking with Saru, she asked, "Are you doing this because I'm compliant, or because you feel that I'll be good for the job?" And he says, "I feel this is in the best interest of the ship." So she's got hesitations because she's like, "Oh well, I've not gone through the command training program. I don't I don't feel that they'll respect me. And he goes, "It's what's best for the ship." So we see their bond forming, their relationship forming beyond just a captain and a subordinate. It's now to the point of captain and an equal. And during this trial, whatever, Burnham talks about the connection she had with Spock, and how she feels that he would be happy that Vulcans and the Romulans are together, but what needs to be done is to fix what caused the burn. And so she with the conversation that happens, she says, "Okay, fine, I take away my right for this trial, I'm done. I respect your positions, and stepping away from this trial. Well, because of that, and because of her speech about her connection to Spock, the president of Navarre gave her the information she was seeking. So, because she felt that, yes, we would never know if Spock truly felt love for her and for her, for his people and all of that. She felt that she knew, and so the president of Navarre definitely saw that there was truth to that, and so she gave the information. And the end of this episode definitely shows that Burnham finally feels like she belongs on Discovery, and how Booker feels like home, and how she does to him. So that's the end of that episode. It's a very good episode. I didn't do it justice, but check it out. So we're gonna get into episode 8, The Sanctuary. So it opens with Giorgio being all brash and terrifying. And saying, she doesn't want to do the scans to figure out what's going on with her, but Culber convinces her this is necessary. And we can see that Burnham and Giorgio's very unique relationship is getting even more difficult and tense. And so Burnham steps away to let Culber do his scans and all that jazz. And as she leaves, Booker runs up to her and says, "Hey, I need to go home." She's like, "Home? What are you talking about?" Like, "I need to go to Quasar? I don't remember what the name of it is. But there's something going on there that he needs to go home to help." So after some communication with the Admiral says, "Okay, y'all can go in a observant stature, whatever." So they go, and Booker and Burnham go down to the planet, and Discovery sees that a big ship is headed that way, and Booker's like, "We don't have any of those ships. It's got to be Osira of the Golden Chain." And so Booker and Burnham go down to the planet, and they are walking around, and we see the locusts that he was talking about that pretty much demolished their planet ecosystem wise. And so as they're down there, Osira shows up, the big Orion baddie. Well, actually before that she shows up, and we see back on the scavenger planet that Booker was rescued from along with the Andorian by Michael and Giorgio. We see Osira, and she's basically reprimanding her nephew who was in charge of that planet, and in the process kills him by one of those transworms, like the very first creature we saw on first episode. So there's another connection to the transworms. As after that, and before they get down to the planet, Tilly and Saru are walking about, talking about the schedule of the day, and Saru asks Tilly, "So what about our other conversation?" And Tilly goes, "Okay, so I've come up with three or four phrases that you could use, because Picard had engage, and we had Pike say hit it, and Lorca said let's get to it." I don't remember what it is specifically, but so he's trying to figure out his phrase. So it's kind of a little humor here and there in the episode. As they're walking around talking about that, they go into the science engineering area, and they figure out that they have the location of the burn. There's a nebula, and it's putting off some sort of signal, and the signal through interference from the nebula is the tune that everybody in the galaxy or in the universe is hearing. That's a little unique. And so with Saru and his unique Kelpian abilities, he helps them, minimize the interference and figures out there is actually a Federation distress call coming from the nebula that caused the burn. So that's going to be a big story down the road. And Stamets is asked, okay, so how long till we can figure out, the location and all of that jazz, pinpoint it accurately and all of that. Stamets says, well, Adira's really good. She can go ahead and get this, cipher or whatever, and a couple hours, maybe half a day or whatever. So Saru goes, okay, go for it. And Adira says to Stamets, after Saru until he leave, they. Can you call me they or them? I've never felt like a female. I've never felt like a girl. Can you start calling me they, them, referring to me as that? And Stamets goes, okay. And that's a really unique thing because Star Trek has always been ahead of its time in the sense of doing things that no other TV series or movie has done. We have the first, in the original series, we have the first black commander who is played by Michelle Nichols, Uhura. Yeah, that's it. And then in Next Generation, we have the issues of someone trying to become more human, and whether or not a robot has the same rights as this. And there's also other little stuff in that series. And then in DS9, we have Jadzia, specifically dealing with being Trill and having these feelings for previous hosts, lovers, wives, whatever. And so we have the first on-screen female-to-female kiss. And then in Voyager, we had Kess, but also Seven of Nine, dealing with mainly Seven of Nine and the Doctor, honestly, but dealing with trying to fit in. With Seven of Nine, it was becoming human, just like Data had done in Next Generation. And with the Doctor, becoming more than just what he is, more than just a piece of tech. And then in Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise, the prequel to all of this, we had Phlox trying to understand humans. We had T'Pol trying to understand emotions and dealing with that. And then in Star Trek Picard, we also have Seven and the lady who calls Picard, SLP, Jean or JLP, Jean-Luc Picard, and then also dealing with the Romulans, a previously known enemy coming back into the fold. And so Star Trek has always been inclusive and ahead of its time, and this just adds to it, and I find that fantastic. I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, this is just too much, and this is not like Gene Roddenberry's visions, da-da-da. Well, Gene Roddenberry's visions, from the very beginning, has been bettering humanity, and the humanity getting to the point that they're not reliant on money, and the war and famine and all of that doesn't exist. And that has been his whole vision up until he passed. And after he passed, that vision was carried over by Majel Barrett, Gene Roddenberry's wife, who also played Nurse Chapman, as well as Deanna Troy's mom in Next Generation. And we see her a few times in DS9. And then Eugene Roddenberry, the son of those two, he is pretty much maintaining his father's legacy. And if none of any of the Star Trek series didn't fall into Gene Roddenberry's vision, he wouldn't allow it because he's the one in control of the estate. So I love this episode because it just adds to the fact that Star Trek has always been inclusive. And, you know, if someone's different, they're different. And we're going to accept them for that. So I found that very unique, and I enjoyed that aspect of this episode. So as Book and Burnham are on the planet, we see Osira basically tell Book's brother, hey, give me your brother or give me Ren. One of the two. And so, or I'll destroy your planet. So Osira starts firing on the planet, and to allow Discovery to attack, Detmer and Ren, the Andorian who had his antennas cut off, take Booker's ship and attack Osira. But right before that, we see Detmer had modified her control interface on the bridge to have a safety net. She's accepting she's having issues, and the navigator that's over here, whatever, Ojubo, whatever, I can't think of her name. She's like, you've never needed a safety net. You are your safety net. So we see that Detmer is getting better, but she still has issues. So as she and Ren are on the on Booker's ship attacking Osira's ship, Ren's like, I don't know if we'll be successful, but this is where you need to fire, and this and that and this, and she can tell he's scared. And they have a very unique interaction on the ship. Basically says, where is it? If you face something, you can beat it. And so she, takes it off of or takes it into manual control and attacks the ship, and Osira eventually leaves. It's just interesting because Detmer is seeing that something is wrong, and she's accepting it, and she's working on it. And others have seen it and have talked to her, and so she knows that she's not alone. While all that's happening, or right before all that's happening, Giorgio goes in to a little scanner, and she sees flashes of her as a younger woman screaming over a dead body, and then is pulled out of her scan because it's about to kill her. There's truly something wrong going on with her. But we definitely see Tilly as falling into her role as number one very nicely. She brings humor and an intensity that we've never seen before, but is doing quite well. Because Ren goes in to talk to Saru's like, I need to talk to the captain now. And Tilly goes, say that again, but with respect to the man in position. And so, we can tell that she's actually doing really well as number one. So Osira is being attacked by Ren and Detmer, and on the planet, Burnham and Booker are trying to escape, and they end up fighting Booker's brother. And Booker basically says, all right, if that's the whole reason you're fighting me, is you have to turn me over to her to save the planet. And Michael's like, no, don't. And Booker's brother recants and goes, no, now everybody on this planet, on our planet's going to die, and, famine, and my son's going to die. Da, 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 da. And with the help of Discovery, Booker and his brother are able to um, push all of the sea locusts or whatever that have been destroying their crops on the planet, push them back out to sea. And because of that, Booker finally accepts that Discovery is doing something important in the universe, and so he says, "This is my home, but I need to be with Discovery. They're doing something right out there, and they need my help." And so we see them with Discovery's tech. We see them use their empath ability. So it's pretty unique. It's kind of like a prayer, and it helps push the locusts back out to sea and save the planet. Georgiou's issues are definitely killing her. We don't know exactly what it is at this moment. Culber is still doing his scans and doing all of his stuff. So that's a unique aspect we'll get to down the road. And before Cyber leaves the planet after she's being attacked, she says to Discovery, basically, you've now started war with the Golden Chain, her group. After all of that, after everybody's back on board, Detmer is talking with the rest of the bridge crew in the mess hall, like, yeah, so I put it in manual and did this and that, and with Ren's help, we were able to, get Osira to leave. And Tilly comes up and is talking with Ren, the Andorian, and Ren basically says, I need to tell you something. The Golden Chain is almost out of dilithium. That's why they're hunting me, because I was the only one who knew. And now you know. And they will come back in a bigger force and be a lot more dangerous. And Tilly said, we can be dangerous. And Culber and Stamets are realizing that there's a very unique relationship between them and Adiratal. And almost like a father-son, or father-daughter, sorry. Almost like a father-daughter relationship, but possibly a little more. Not sexual, but very familial relationship. And I find that very, very cool. And that's pretty much the end of the episode. We do find out that Booker had another name before, and he changed it to Cleveland Booker. And he has a story for why he changed his name. And I believe that's going to come up later in the series. So that's pretty much the episode. After each episode, Will Wheaton does what is called the Ready Room, where he talks with different people about the episode and gives special previews for the next season, or the next episode, or the rest of the season. And this one, specifically, there was a special trailer, I guess you'd call it, that has Culber in the medical bay with the guy with the glasses from Starfleet, and how he talks about Georgiou's issues and how one other in history had transported not only through time but alternate dimension, and how there probably won't be a cure for Georgiou's issues. So we shall see what will happen there. I definitely like David Cronenberg. That's the actor who plays the guy with the glasses. I don't remember what his name is. But I'm excited for the next couple episodes because A, I'm a fan of Star Trek. B, they do such wonderful stories. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, this is moaning and complaining, but this is fantastic. For the longest time, Star Trek was not on TV. Now we have Picard, Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks, we have Strange New Worlds coming and a possibility of a Section 31 episode coming, or series coming. So, and we also have 2 other Star Trek series. One's going to be specifically on, or at least from what I've been able to read, on Nickelodeon, about a younger set of people who find some ship, and Kate Mulgrew's going to be in that. And so there's so much going on that, Star Trek gives us a glimpse of what humanity could be and what life should be. And I love this franchise. I've been a big fan of this franchise from, I would say, pretty much since birth, but since the very first thing I can remember was crawling into my dad's lap as a small child, watching reruns of Next Generation and the current episodes of the Next Generation when I was like 5. So I love this franchise, and I'm excited for where it's going. So, all right, take a chance and explore something new or old to you. Adventure is out there. Go find it. I'll see y'all later.